Welcome to Revenue Growth Live with Darrell Amy. You're about to join an interactive forum where business executives, sales professionals, and marketing leaders share ideas to accelerate growth. While you are here, make sure to like or subscribe to get notifications for future episodes. You're encouraged to get involved in today's live conversation by liking and commenting. Now, let's join Darrell Amy for fresh ideas and innovative strategies to help you grow your business faster.
Hello, Darrell Amy here, and I'm super excited about our conversation today about the high cost of paying lip service to strategic innovation. We're going to have a very open conversation about what it takes to drive innovation in your business and what the difference is between a company that says they're innovative and says they're innovating and a company that actually does. Look, I know in all the times I've spoken with different executives and business owners, almost every time when you ask about their company and what their company is like, they'll say, well, we're a value-added provider. We're a value-added provider. Almost everybody says that. And chances are, if you're listening live, and by the way, welcome, I'd love for you to comment and give a shout out. Any questions you have, just put them in the comments as we go through this 25 minute conversation today. Or if you're watching later, if you're working for a company and someone asks you about the company and what makes you different, you're probably going to say you're a value-added provider. We're a cut above. And what do you mean by that? Well, you may say, well, we provide outstanding service. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but in today's world, providing outstanding service is really table stakes. It's just the price of admission. So what are you truly doing as a company to innovate? To add value, I would say, and I tipped it off right there. I would say what we need to be doing to add value is innovating. And Jim Collins puts this really, really well in his study, Built to Last, where he looked at the companies that survived and thrived over time. He said they were good at two things. Number one, they were really good at preserving the core. They worked to make sure that the company ran well. They had operational excellence that resulted in amazing customer service. And you absolutely need to preserve the core. And I have the privilege and opportunity to get to work with companies. Many of them are using operating systems to run their companies like EOS, and they actually have systems and structures in place to preserve the core. But if we're truly going to be a value-added company, if we're truly going to be a cut above for our clients or customers, we also need to be stimulating progress. Stimulating progress. Well, what's that? Simply put, stimulating progress is consistently innovating on behalf of our current and future customers to ensure that we are truly a value-add company, that the value we add today is here, the value we add tomorrow is even greater, so that we're always looking for ways to help the clients that we serve get the outcomes that they want. Now, here's the deal. If you neglect innovation, and in just a moment, today's conversation, we're going to talk about the costs of neglecting innovation, 3 signs that you may be neglecting innovation in your company, and then 3 things you can do about it. If you look and go, okay, Darrell, we need to amp things up when it comes to being able to add value to our clients by innovating. There are really high costs to neglecting innovation. Now, if you neglect the operational side of your business and provide terrible customer service, you're going to see the impact right away. A lot of the costs of neglecting innovation happen over the long term. And this is why it's really, really important to be aware of the costs as you think about what you're doing when it comes to adding value and innovating for your clients. And I believe that there are 6 core hidden costs of neglecting innovation. And I'm challenging you, if you can think of any more, put them in the chat. I actually have a 7th I want to add. But the first 3 are all related to results. When you neglect innovation, it limits your growth trajectory. Had you innovated, had you come up with new ideas and new ways to add value, you would have had opportunities to grow revenue, and you would have changed the trajectory of your company. Companies, one of the signs, by the way, that you're maybe neglecting innovation is that you have linear growth in your company. Then when you put the ruler over the last 2 or 3 years of growth, you get a straight line. companies that innovate are companies that begin to see the good old hockey stick when it comes to growth trajectory. But you're also leaving revenue and profit on the table, because as you innovate and add more value add equals more revenue equals more profit. And those two things, the limit in growth trajectory and the reduction in revenue and profit, that's just simple math. That minimizes company valuation, whether the multiples on revenue, whether the multiples on EBITDA, whether the buyer is looking at the growth trajectory. They're all trying to make an assessment of what the future value of that company is. And when you neglect innovation and you get to the day that you've dreamed of on an exit for the company, you begin to realize that the valuation isn't what it could be had you put intentional innovation to work in the company. This also hurts your competitive advantage. And you may say, well, hey, Darrell, we're number one in our category right now. We're rocking it right now. Good for you. But competitive advantage is not static. The competitive advantage that you have today over your competition, guess what? They're going to catch up. And if you're not moving forward, they're going to eventually leapfrog you. And once again, you're going to lose competitive advantage, which is going to hurt valuation. This opens the door to innovative competitors. When you're not innovating, somebody else will. And maybe most importantly, and we're going to have some future live streams just unpacking this number 6 bullet point right here itself, is it reduces employee engagement. And we're going to talk about why that's true as we come further into this conversation. But let me just tease it by saying you've got some employees on your team that have gifts of innovation. They have a desire to contribute and to actually make the company better. And if there's not an outlet for that for them, they're going to be frustrated. And sadly, many of them are at risk of leaving. Some of your best employees, and since they're innovative, they're actually at risk of leaving and becoming your biggest competitor. So this is really, really critical. And I would add another bullet point to this list, and it kind of sums all of them up. When you neglect innovation, you neglect the cost of that is you reduce the impact of your organization. And as I get to work with purpose-driven companies that are saying, hey, yeah, we want to bring revenue to the bottom line, but in the process, we want to create great jobs inside an amazing culture. And we want to be able to not only take that profit and leave a legacy for our families and of our investors, but we also want to be able to give back. When you neglect innovation, that one of the massive hidden costs is you indirectly reduce the impact that your company has. And I don't know about you, but if I'm going to get up and I'm going to work and I'm going to drive a business, I want that business to have an impact. And I know you do as well. And in order to maximize the impact our businesses have, we need to innovate. Well, what are some signs that you may be neglecting innovation, that you may be paying lip service to innovation and saying, hey, we're innovative, we're value add? Well, what are some signs that actually you might not be completely true? Well, I got 3 of them here. And the first sign is there is no structure in place for innovation. If you look at your organizational structure, we're going to unpack this in just a moment, but you look at most organizational structures and they are optimized for execution. Now, that's a good thing. However, is there anything in your organizational structure that optimizes for innovation as well? Going back to what Jim Collins taught us about the great companies, they did preserve the core. They also stimulated progress. And along that line, not just structure, but do you have systems in place? Because show me your systems, show me your processes, and I'll show you, the innovation in your company. And if there are systems, I hope you have systems for customer service. Hope you have systems for sales and marketing. I hope you have systems in place for billing and collections. But if you don't have systems for innovation, you might be paying lip service to innovation. And do you have a scorecard? Are you tracking that? What's on your innovation wall? What have you brought to market? New ideas, new strategies, new ways to deliver customer experience, new products and services. What's on your innovation wall? Oh, well, we don't have an innovation wall. Maybe a sign that you're paying lip service to innovation. And there are other things we could probably put on this list. But the point of this whole thing is we want to make sure that we're companies that aren't just saying we're adding value and we're being innovative. We're actually getting it done. And this is really, really critical when it comes to driving valuation, driving results. And I want to address the structure thing first. When we take a look at this no structure, I had a really interesting conversation. Actually, it's been now a series of conversations with several friends who are integrators and visionaries inside companies, several people that are implementers for the entrepreneurial operating system. And we began to ask a question. And that question was this. The question was, what would happen if we turned the organizational chart on its side? What could happen if we turn the organizational chart on its side? Or in the world of EOS, where I run all of my companies on EOS, what if we took the accountability chart and flipped it on its side? So here it is. Normally, we got the visionary, that person that's looking out. They're the innovator. They're the founder looking out 3 to 5 years about what's next. The integrator looking out 3 to 5 days and working at how do we make this thing work, working with these 3 core functions of the business. Well, I thought to myself, what if we turn this thing on its side? Check this out. And we said, okay, well, let's just make this. Now, first of all, I love this because we just eliminated the hierarchy from the org chart. But what if we also did something? I think the biggest missing person in the accountability chart in most companies is the actual client. They're the most important person and they never make it into our organization. But without clients, we're in trouble. And when you look at it from this perspective, it's actually the people in your organization that are closest to the client that have the most value. That's a whole other conversation here. Now, what if we overlaid that on top of what Jim Collins was saying we should do? He said, remember, you need to preserve the core, you need operational excellence, but you also need to stimulate progress. And when we do this in most organizations and take the accountability chart and slice it out between preserving the core and stimulating progress, we begin to realize a massive gap. We begin to realize that we've got all kinds of people set up to preserve the core. But when it comes to innovation, we've got a visionary that's sitting out in left field by him or herself. I call this the innovation desert. This is a plague upon mid-sized companies now. Here's what I mean by that. If you look at companies that are startups, when you started your company, you innovated. I know you innovated because if you didn't innovate, you would have died and you're here today. So startup companies innovate. On the other end of the spectrum as well, we find Fortune 500 companies. And I have friends that work in Fortune 500 companies on their innovation team. They actually have literal teams and departments solely structured to innovate. But what we find is in between startups and startups and Fortune 500 enterprise type companies, there's a vast desert of innovation, which is really a shame because if you think about it, startup companies, they don't really even have many customers yet. Fortune 500 companies, most of the people at a Fortune 500 home office are so far removed from their customer. They, 2 or 3 layers removed. Mid-sized companies, though, your bread and butter organizations, established companies, where you see this innovation desert, it's really a shame because those are the companies that, in my opinion, are closest to the customer. And they really understand what's going on in the customer's world, which is the heart of innovation. Well, what do we do about this problem? Well, I've got a couple of folks who have some suggestions. The first is Vern Harnish. Vern Harnish, in Scaling Up, says, hey, the first step in all of this is you need a strategic thinking team. You need a group of employees, and I would say employees that are close to the customer, that are able to think strategically and innovatively about what the company could do. And Vern Harnish references Jim Collins once again in the famous book, Good to Great. And Jim says every great company should have a council, a group of the right people who participate in dialogue and debate, guided by the 3 circles, whole other conversation, but really looking iteratively over time about the issues facing the organization and how we can improve through innovation. So we see this. And so this is my thought is what if the organizational chart, we talked about the structure of your company. One of the ways to know you might be paying lip service to innovation is that you don't have an organizational structure. Well, how could you fix this? You don't have an organizational structure for innovation. Well, what if you put together a strategic innovation council? We took the advice from Vern Harnish and Jim Collins and said, let's actually get a team together of people that are focused on strategically innovating. We call it a council because it's not necessarily a full-time job. Maybe someday when you become an enterprise, but right now, what could we do to take people that are close to the customer, that have gifts of innovation, and pair them with the visionary? I think a strategic innovation council is a group of forward-thinking employees that meets with a regular cadence to develop, pilot, and package new ideas. We'll unpack that here in the next few minutes. So if you're listening in and you're saying, Darrell, okay, I get it. I see what you're saying. I'm here today because I already knew that we're really just kind of paying lip service to innovation. How do you get intentional about innovation? Well, I've got a 3-step process I'd like to share with you that ultimately ends in green for go, good ideas that are ready to integrate into your business. So let's dive in on this. The first is identify. What we need to do is we need to find and engage the innovative employees inside your company. We need to find and engage the innovative employees inside your company. Now, here's the cool thing. Every company has innovative employees in their organization. And Patrick Lencioni uncovered this in his brilliant book, Working Genius. And he discovered that there were 6 types of working genius. And you'll notice here that 2 of them on the far left have to do specifically with innovation. I wonder if there's a better way to do things, ideas or invention. I've got 5 ideas to make that, to do it better. Those people are total gems in a business because they look at things and they say, I wonder if there's a better way. And I've got lots of ideas. And right next to that are my friends who are D's. And by the way, if you haven't taken Working Genius yet, I highly recommend it. And just go to workinggenius.com. And I'm so excited to be helping companies discover their working genius, because this is where we find the employees in the organization that have the gifts or the genius of innovation. Third is discernment. And we all want to give a shout out to these folks as well, because in this model, we can come up, I wonder if there's a better way. I got 5 ideas. The discernment gift says, hey, I think I know which one of those ideas is the best. And we put these people together. Now, here's the problem or the opportunity, depending on how you look at it. These people are scattered throughout your company. W's and I's represent, Wonder and Innovation represents between 10 and 20% of an employee population. Which, by the way, I think that ratio is just about right. It's 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. You need 5 people to offset a visionary. I think you need that ratio, maybe intentional in how we were created. The good Lord knew that we were going to need 5 people to implement the ideas of one person with wonder and innovation as their working genius. But nonetheless, once we can identify those employees, now we've begun to say, hey, these are the people that could actually be on the Strategic Innovation Council. And let me full screen this, because this is where it really starts to come together. You start to go, you know what? If we took the W's, the I's, and the D's and put them, they're people with the working genius to stimulate progress, and we put a handful of them on the Strategic Innovation Council, we could come up with a steady stream of great ideas on a regular basis. So step 1 in this whole thing is identifying the working genius of your organization and determining who could be a good fit. And we could talk for the rest of the time about this. We'll dive deeper into this in a future live stream. We also do in our special report, Unleashing Strategic Innovation, which I'll put a link to that, how you can get a hold of that, this guide on how to unleash strategic innovation later in this conversation. But look, here's the deal. Wonder, invention, and discernment. These people are all through your organization. We need people that are close to the customer, and they may be on your operations team. They may be on your sales team. They may be on your finance team. People that they may be working in the call center, but people not necessarily based on organizational hierarchy or title or position, but people that are working close to the customer are the people we want to engage on this Strategic Innovation Council. So we identify. Then what we need to do is ideate. And we'll move quickly through this. You can get more detail on this in the Visionary's Guide to Strategic Innovation. But one of the things I love about our company and the companies we work with, a lot of them use the Entrepreneur's Operating System. And one of the core pieces of EOS is traction, which is saying, hey, we've got a cadence here inside the company. In terms of the company itself, there's quarterly focus days where the entire leadership team gets together. Well, why not adopt that same cadence that you're already familiar with for innovation? Take that innovation council and put them together quarterly. That's 4 days a year. It's not a crazy amount of time, but gathering quarterly with a structured process to ideate from the customer's perspective. Now, innovation can come from all different angles. We think of a lot of times product innovation. People like Elon Musk innovating electric cars. We think of Steve Jobs innovating the iPhone and all of that. But at a more practical level, and there may be some product innovation that needs to happen, but you may be thinking, well, that's a little bit out of touch for our company where we are. Not a problem, but innovation doesn't just happen with products. It happens with services. It happens with customer experience. And it all revolves around what Clay Christensen, the great guru of innovation, said. He said, customers don't buy your products and services. They hire them for a job to be done. So as the innovation team begins to understand the jobs to be done from the customer's perspective, the logical question is, well, what can we do to satisfy that need? And this is where we have an opportunity to an innovation focus days every quarter to begin to generate ideas that are customer focused innovations. And then from there, you may go, hey, Darrell, I put this slide in, just thought of this morning. You may be saying, Darrell, look, this is all great, but we're really busy around here. Well, guess what? Everyone on this planet is busy. And I would say you can either be busy inventing the future, or you can be busy scrambling and reacting to competitors who are inventing the future. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather spend my busy time. I'd rather be busy inventing the future than being busy, worried about and wondering what we're going to do to react to other people who are inventing the future. And we're in a time right now with sea-level change. Just look at the one major shift in technology with artificial intelligence. What are you doing, from an innovative standpoint to think about that inside your company? Are you going to be the company that leads in that? Or are you going to be the company that is trying to catch up? Well, I would say if you say you're busy, join the club. But why don't we get busy doing things that actually matter? Okay, soapbox over. So we want to identify the people with the working geniuses around innovation. We want to ideate in quarterly focus days. What do we do next? Well, I'm glad you asked. The next thing we do is we investigate. So this is where a lot of companies drop the ball. They may have a visionary or a founder that is great at coming up with ideas. And I think we all know this story of how this goes. The founder gets an idea, maybe reads a book, comes to a conference, watches a live stream, and comes back to the management team, maybe inside a level 10 meeting, and airmails that idea in. And it's met with rolling eyes and, all of this, because the idea was never validated. An idea needs to be piloted, it needs to be optimized, and then it needs to be packaged up. And so this, if you want to get serious about innovation, it not only involves identifying the innovative employees in your company and ideating in a quarterly innovation focus day, it also involves having a process in between those quarterly days where these ideas get validated, they get tested, they get packaged up. And some of them are going to be great ideas that get moved on to integration. And some of them are going to be ideas that go, you know what, we learned something from that. All of this, as we round this out, is we're thinking about, are you paying lip service to innovation, or are you actually being innovative? If it's only the founder that's allowed to or charged with coming up with ideas, if it's only the visionary that's injecting innovation, I would say that you need to listen to what Jim Collins says in his book, Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0. Most companies have a creative founder. That's just the way it is. That's how they get started. The challenge, and this is the challenge for everybody sitting in the innovation desert, is to become an innovative company rather than a company dependent on a visionary or innovative founder. The challenge is to become an innovative company rather than a company dependent on an innovative founder. And this is what we've got to consider. If we want to move beyond paying lip service to innovation, to actually being an innovative company, to actually being the value-added provider that we say we are, we need to become an innovative company. And that requires structure, it requires systems, it requires scorecards. And these are all very, very critical. The good news is it's all very doable with some intention. And if you'd like to, if you're listening in and you're going, Darrell, oh man, we so need this in our organization. I would say that I'd love to share this report with you. I put together a guide. This is hot off the press. This is a visionary's guide to unleashing strategic innovation. And if you're listening in saying, hey, Darrell, I know that we need to innovate in 2024 and we need to go beyond paying lip service, or maybe you work with organizations and you say, you know what, these organizations that I'm working with or serving, they need to innovate. They'd really benefit from this. I'd love to put this report in your hands or in their hands as well, because I believe that if we're going to truly make an impact, and I'm speaking here to purpose-driven company executives, whether you own the company or you lead the company and you want to make an impact, you want to create more amazing jobs inside an incredible corporate culture, generating abundant resources that can be used to do all kinds of good things in the world. If you want to do that, you need to innovate. And it needs to be intentional, not random acts of innovation. How do you do that? Well, you identify innovative people on your team. You ideate regularly in a quarterly innovation focus day. And then you investigate those ideas to test them and validate them and prove them. And then you'll have some stuff that's ready to implement. And I don't know about you, but I believe that in your organization, 1 or 2 great ideas implemented in your organization a year could be a total game changer, not only in your growth trajectory, your revenue and profit, your valuation, your competitive advantage, your employee engagement. All of these areas could benefit from innovation. So if this is something that's resonating with you, I'd like to invite you to join me in talking, having a conversation about how to unleash strategic innovation in your business. Thank you for joining me today. If you found these ideas interesting, number one, feel free to share this with your friends and comment on it. And second of all, I'd love to hear from you personally. I hope you have a great day. And as I always say at the end of my live streams, let's get going and let's get growing.